2001, who played for the Saints through 2008. Leading rusher in franchise history, 6,096 yards. Leading rusher in touchdowns as well with 49. 54 touchdowns overall, including receptions. Named to the Pro Bowl in 2002 and 2003. He's been inducted into the Saints Hall of Fame, the All-State Sugar Bowl, Greater New Orleans Sports Hall of Fame, the Louisiana Sports Hall of Fame, and the Mississippi Sports Hall of Fame. And I'm pretty sure if there are any other Hall of Fames, he'll probably get in those too. Stay tuned. It's great to have him with us today. And here not to talk about Ole Miss and Memphis, but to talk about the Saints. Here's our good and great friend, Deuce McAllister. Deuce.
I will speak briefly about Ole Miss and Memphis as well. It was bad. Thank you, Ken, just for allowing me to be a part of the panel and just to be able to come up and speak, and thank the Quarterback Club for just being able to put this on. And just a great event. And obviously, to the scholar athletes, congratulations for the work that you continue to do in the classroom. Keep chipping away. Keep chipping away. I mean, because sports won't only last so long. You know, regardless of how great you are as far as an athlete, the window and the clock will always tick. You know, and we always have a saying as far as making it to the professionals. Father Time is undefeated. You know, he's going to win out every time. So the education that you can fall back on is one that you'll have the rest of your life. And so definitely, and these guys will tell you, the relationships that you will not only build in high school, but the relationships that you'll build in college, those last a lifetime. So definitely enjoy it. I will try to be as intelligent as possible. I will be brief, and then I will be gone. So just a little bit, speaking what these guys have spoke on, and just a little bit sports in general. Sports in general, to be able to be a fan, to sit and watch games, not only Monday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, and just to be able to, whatever season it is, enjoy the sporting world. You have to be really proud of what you're able to accomplish here in Louisiana, starting with the high school sports and obviously with the college sports, and then our professional teams that we have. Most Mondays and most days after, you're very excited, and when you're losing, you're not excited. So you have the questions of why and what's happening, and you know, where's the growth. When you look at the New Orleans Saints, you see this year currently a team that's let's just say transition. You have some pieces, you have some very young pieces, but you don't know when that light will go off for those young pieces. Obviously, I think we all know when you look at some of the articles and hear some of the reports as far as the young draft pieces, there's been a lot of misses. You know, and I think at some point you have to address that. I think there was one move made, and I think they made a couple moves as far as scouts this offseason, but that's the blood of any team. And so when you don't have those young players to come in and contribute, and when you have injuries to hit some of your free agents like this past year, and like they have as far as off season, then you get what we're at currently. You know, you have a team that has potential but hadn't really been able to put it together, you know, as far as the past 6 games. Played an outstanding game last Thursday against Atlanta. We saw flashes, you know, but now the question is, will it be able to translate? Will it be able to carry over to this upcoming week? They've got to get healthy. You know, I said going into the season, you'll break it down basically into 4s. The first quarter, with as many guys as they had hurt, they would have been proud to go 2-2. You know, you're in the second quarter, you know, you're pretty much looking at they will be proud to go 3-1 at that second quarter, at the split. You know, and after 8 games, you really see where you are. If they can figure out a way to get to 4-4, then they put themselves at least in a position to be able to catch the Carolinas. Obviously, you know, we know with their record being 5-0, it's going to be a tremendous task to do so. But Carolina and Atlanta have to play, so you figure they'll split. So at least you'll give them the opportunity to maybe get back in the race. But when you look at it, you know, overall from a standpoint, offensive line, has to do a better job of protecting the quarterback. Any coach will tell you the game is always going to be won in the trenches. And right now they're not winning enough in the trenches. As far as for Drew, if you can't protect him, particularly in the inside, then it makes it really, really tough for him to be able to step up and be able to operate and move around. When you look at it from the receiver standpoint, Willie Snead has really come along. You're still waiting for Brandon Coleman for the translation to how well he practices for it to translate into the games. We haven't been able to see that. So you have to get Cooks. In my opinion, I don't think that you can put him as far as just an X and a Z. I think you have to be able to put him in motion. I think you have to be able to get him in the slot, just because normally he's going to get the #1 corner for most teams. And being that case, he's a smaller guy, so you don't want him to be able you want him to be able to come off the line and be able to come off the line pretty clean. Because if you don't, then he's going to have problems just to be able to get into space. He's a space player. You can get him into space, then he can be dynamic. But when you can't get him into space, then he's going to struggle. He's going to struggle. He can't use his best asset, which is his speed and quickness. So they're still finding themselves, offensively, as far as the running backs and the running game is concerned. It's kind of been hit and miss. At times, obviously, we know with the 3 backs that they have, hadn't been able to find any consistency. In my opinion, obviously with CJ being hurt, we've seen flashes from him. Mark has not been able to get it going as far as, and I think a little bit of that is because there's just been so much change up front. So that has to come together. They have to figure out a way to be able to, one, as a running back, you want to get 4.5 a clip. If you can do that, then you can be pretty successful. But if you're not winning on first down, then it makes it hard. Because any play caller will tell you if I can call 2nd and 6 or 2nd and 5, I have the option to be able to run it and pass it. Makes it a little tough when it's 2nd and 7, 2nd and 8. Just depending on what the defense is, the looks are going to be a little bit different, and that shrinks that playbook down. But overall, I think they have a really good chance to get back in it. You'll have your hands full. Like I said, this next 2 games or 3 games as far as that quarter is concerned, but the biggest thing that they have to do is try to figure out a way to get to 4-4. Because if they can get there, then they'll be able to, quote unquote, take a deep breath, reset, and be able to possibly get in that race. Because that's all you can ask for. If not, then we can just prepare for the draft. Because that's really where you're going to be looking at. We can talk all day. I can talk about the Saints. I can talk about LSU, and Herb was not correct. That was an 11:30 game. They had just beat Florida my freshman year, and that's the reason we beat them, because it was 11:30 and not at night. And so I do remember it, John Avery, and one of the reasons, Herb, you named the backs. You had Kevin, you had Cecil, you had Rundell, and there was one more running back. Because I was 97, but there was nowhere for me to go. I was going to end up playing defense, not a tailback. So that's one of the reasons LSU recruited me, but didn't really recruit me. So great memories, though. I can take any questions. We can talk all day. We can talk about, I know the Pelicans are looking for anybody that's 6'2", 6'3" or better. They're banged up, they're hurt. So out recruiting, looking for any player to sign. Yes, sir.
Hey, what running back did you see playing either in the pros or in college that reminds you of your style of running?
Myself?
Yeah.
I wanted to be about 10 different running backs. So you wanted to be able to catch like Marshall Faulk. Be able to line up in different places, whether it was in a slot, whether it was split out wide. So I wanted to be able to, quote unquote, be that receiver. Because as a running back, and it's kind of changed. There's not a lot of 3-down running backs anymore. Most teams are going to either play 2, play 3, but to get paid, you've got to be able to do all 3. You have to be able to block, you have to be able to catch, you have to understand the protections, and obviously you have to run. I was a taller running back, so to have that long gait like Eric Dickerson, to be able to just kind of glide, kind of skip. Once I started to get the knee injuries, then my game really translated from a speed, because I wanted to outrun everybody. I didn't really want to hit them. I wanted to outrun them. But when the knee injuries occurred, it became more of a power game. So I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it, and it was a competition. One of the toughest hits I ever took was probably the toughest lick I ever took was Brian Urlacher, and I never saw him. I never saw him. It was when Soldier Field, my second year, first year starting, Soldier Field was renovating. Renovations were going on, so we were playing in Champaign, Illinois, and he had the big defensive tackles, Israel Adonajo and Boone up there, and he hit me inside out. And I tell people, I got up and I jogged off to the sideline, and you know how the coaches and the players and everybody are standing there. Got right behind him, and then I hit the ground because I could not let him know that he had got me. I could not let that defense know that they had got me, because they would have punished me the rest of the game. But after I was able to come back in, can't remember if we won that game or not, but that was the cleanest lick. One of the guys that I respected the most was Derrick Brooks. He was just such a smart player, and I can remember really early in my career as far as playing, he's calling out the plays. And I'm looking, I'm like, what is he reading? It's a run right here. It was run right there. It was a run right there, and I'm thinking to myself, am I giving away? Am I looking too much at the hole? Am I staring too much at that play, or is my guard, is his hand too heavy in the ground? And as I got to know him, we got to talk a little bit in Hawaii at the Pro Bowl, and he was telling me based off of my depth, he knew first or second down what play our tendencies were. And so that's one of the things that I said, man, I'm not watching enough film. I'm not watching enough film just based off of, if that defensive player can see it, and he can see it, I know other guys are seeing it. He could always tell you, well, your guard, on pass plays, he only puts his hand on this left side, or he only puts his hand in the dirt heavy. So, I think that's the biggest difference when you talk about the pros and the colleges, just how much time that you spend. Normally in college, you're talking about 20 hours a week. In the NFL, if a guy's really putting that time in, it's about 2.5 days. So the preparation and how long it takes and what it takes to prepare and to get ready for a game, it's just not showing up on Sundays. There's a lot of prep that goes into it, and I think Drew does one of the best jobs. When I was playing, I used to try to race him to work to see who could beat each other, to be the first guy in that building. And he normally gets there probably about 6:15, 6:30, and on every day he's probably getting out at about 6:30 or 7 o'clock at night, and he only practice 2 hours, 2:15 maybe on Thursdays. Weight room, an hour, 15. You're talking 3 times a day. 3 times a week. The rest is film. Before I got into the NFL, I didn't drink coffee. I'm a coffee connoisseur now, just because to stay woke, because they keep it cold, and it's just film, and it's over and over, and it's over and over. And you want to pick up tendencies, you want to pick up what a guy does in certain situations, and I think that's where this Saints team is trying to get, because talent will only get you so far.
I was interested in your thoughts on the turnover and place kicker with Kai.
Can you kick? I heard we had a kicker. Someone said earlier
from Washington.
The top kicker in the Riverside. I'm going to see if he can come on out. If you know Sean, he doesn't have a lot of patience, and you could kind of tell it. Great kid. Hawker was a great kid. Great. But inexperienced, and when the lights come on, you got to be able to perform. He just doesn't have a lot of thick skin for kickers, and it's unfortunate because, like I said, I think he worked extremely hard, but you have to be able to go out there and with least amount of pressure and be able to deliver on kicks. And they're not easy kicks because they're 51-yarders or 47 yards. I think it was 48-yarder that he missed, 49 yards that he missed, and you kind of knew it though when he missed those two that it wasn't gonna end well. So hopefully our new kicker that we have will be able to just go out and kick and not have a lot of the pressure. I know he's played with Washington previously, so hopefully that helps. it's climate controlled, you know, so most of them, you don't have to deal with the wind, but he'll rotate kickers quickly. Yes, sir.
What is your impression of Leonard Fournette?
Grown man. I mean, I met him, he was a senior, and he was 6'1", 225, 220. Well, when I was drafted, I was 6'2", 222. And he's a high school senior. So the biggest thing is he works really, really, really hard. I know Frank, and Frank is going to have him prepared. You know, Frank is going to have him understanding what defenses are doing to him, and I think that's the biggest improvement from last year to this year. And that offensive line may not get as much credit as it gets, but a lot of time Leonard is not being touched until he's 7-8 yards down the field. And I can promise you those defensive backs do not want to hit him. You know, they may hit him one time, but come third, fourth quarter, that's where his big runs are coming. And obviously, he's been able to have big runs every game, you know, and I highlight plays. You know, obviously he's came out and said that, you know, he's going to play next year. It's the rule has changed as well. 10 years, 15 years ago when we played, the Lords of London policy was only for if you got hurt and you couldn't play again. Well, now the school can pay for a policy and pretty much protect his draft status. If he's not a top 10 pick, then he will get X amount. So that'll happen. So he'll be protected in that aspect. Just go and play. Just go and play. You know, for us, when we play up at Ole Miss, we want to just hold him to about 150. You know, if we can hold him to 150, then you give yourself at least a chance, because he's going to get 100. You know, it's normally you want to hold him back to 100. He'll get that. He'll get that easily. And you know, the biggest question I have is obviously, you know, the carries, the amount of carries. Everybody's body, you only have so many hits. You know, everybody's bodies, you only have so many hits. So you don't want some of the games, whether it was Eastern, whether it was Syracuse, 10, 15 max, and be able to sit him. But some of those situations you couldn't because the league wasn't there. The league wasn't there to be able to rest him and sit him. Herb talked about the other backs. They've got talented backs outside of Leonard. So really excited and waiting on him to go ahead and get to the NFL. I mean, because you want to see how it translates. But it'll come down to Alabama. It'll come down to Alabama, and I think that he'll have that quote-unquote defining moment. And you know, the quarterback at some point will have to make a play. At some point, the quarterback will have to make a play, and it'll have to be maybe 2 plays that he has to make. But the talent is there. It's not even a question. Yes, sir.
Back to the kicking issue.
Can you kick?
Can I kick? I can kick. Can I make it?
That's the question.
Obviously, the kicker we cut is batting 1,000 on field goals now, and the kicker we kept, obviously, we see what happened. Is regardless of the kicker we cut or who we kept, is it this pressure the coaching staff's putting on them, or did we just cut the wrong kicker?
I think it's a little bit of both. I think overall, when you looked at the amount of kicks that each had, not only in the preseason, but what was charted throughout practice, Hocker was the better performer. Now, maybe a change of scenery helped the former kicker, just because it was a little different. He didn't have that pressure where he was competing with another kicker for a job. But, you know, you just have to go out and perform. You know, you have to go out and perform. I never kicked outside of punting. You know, it was never to kick extra points or field goals, but you look at it as any other job. That's what he has to go and do. You know, and there's a lot of pressure. There's a lot of pressure. I mean, normally you don't think too much of the kicker until he misses an extra point or he misses a field goal. You know, and that's when you learn who he is and how bad he's playing. Any other questions before I turn it over to Mr. Ken? Anything you want to talk about outside of the Saints?
What are your thoughts on the Saints running game?
Bad. It's bad. I mean, it's honest. Right?
Which one do you like more, though?
If one could get 20 touches, I think Mark is that guy. You know, I think CJ is probably the most explosive of them as far as the running backs. I mean, and that's what that team has to have, some explosive plays. You know, I think you'll see them tinker a little bit with trying to get both on the field. They've got to get healthy. You know, Mark has probably been banged up a little, not a lot, but that's any player, you know, as far as this point in the season. You want to be, as a running back, you want to be able to contribute, you know, and that's running the ball. The catches are good because at least you get to touch it, but you want to be able to contribute and be able to control the line of scrimmage, and they really haven't been able to do that yet. So, I mean, I think they're frustrated. You know, I'm frustrated for them because I want them to be successful. So they've got to be able to win on first down. They're not winning on first down, so you can't expect to run the ball. You know, 2 yards, 3 yards, he's not going to stick with it. So you have to be able to get that 4.5 yards, that first carry on first down, and then if it's not, you know, as far as a pass, then you've got to have options, because if you're not holding the ball, then you can't expect to run it. Thank y'all so much for allowing me